Hannah Schaffhauser. That afternoon, while Callista was in the bathroom, I told her I wanted to watch Kung Fu videos on Mom's laptop, but I didn't. What I did was I found the file on the desktop from when Mom wrote my sick notes, and I opened it. I only had to change a few words. Dear Mrs. Rouse, Albin was out sick last week. Please excuse his absence. Sincerely. And then, under the sincerely, Mom always signed her name, Hannah Schaffhauser, in pen. Printing it wasn't the hard part. Hannah Schaffhauser. I practiced Mom's signature over and over down the sides of a piece of scrap paper and up again. Hannah Schaffhauser. I'd found an old letter she'd signed in her desk, and I was trying to copy all the letters just right. That's what I was doing instead of sleeping. Hannah Schaffhauser. I practiced the way the capital H crossed back over itself. I practiced the dip and the big S. I practiced the way Mom did the double F, which was super different from the way I did it when I signed my own name. I practiced and practiced and practiced. Hannah Schaffhauser. It was a long signature and hard to get just right. I couldn't get it perfect no matter how hard I tried. Only almost perfect. Hannah Schaffhauser. But almost was better than nothing. I pushed away the piece of scrap paper and looked at the note I'd printed, all ready for me to give to Mrs. Rouse, except for Mom's signature. If I signed the note and told Mrs. Rouse it was from my mom, then I'd be lying. And if I got caught, I'd get in trouble. But if I didn't sign it and give it to Mrs. Rouse, then Mrs. Rouse would probably call my mom to ask why I was out, and then Mom would know that I didn't go to school, and then Callista would get in trouble. And I didn't think Callista should get in trouble because what she did was a nice thing, giving me a sad day when I needed a sad day. And it did make me feel better, even if Darren Ackelman still called me dummy about 9 times every day. It made me feel better because I knew that last Monday, while Darren Ackelman was doing social studies worksheets, I'd seen a python eating a pig, and that was worth 1.5 million bad names. I pressed my pen hard into the paper, and I signed it. Worrying. When I gave the note to Mrs. Rouse the next morning, all that happened was she read it, and she looked at me, and then she looked back at the note, and she said, "Thank you, Albie. You can sit down now." That was it. I don't know what I was so worried about. I didn't get in trouble at all. The worst thing. The worst thing that happens is always the one thing you thought would never, ever happen. "Where's Callista?" I asked when my mom picked me up on the blacktop after school that day. Mom never picked me up. It was always Callista. "Albie," Mom said. She reached her hand out to take my backpack from me, but I didn't want to give it to her. I didn't like the way she said Albie. It was the way to say it that had bad news after it. "I need to talk to you about something." "Where's Callista?" I said. We followed the other kids and their nannies and parents out to the sidewalk, and Mom still didn't answer. "Where's Callista?" I asked again, because I thought maybe she didn't hear me. "Is she sick?" Albie. We were on the corner next to a garbage can overflowing with garbage, and Mom knelt down to look at me while we waited for the light. She looked like she didn't want to say what she was about to say. I felt hot all of a sudden inside my puffy jacket, like I was coming down with a fever. "Callista isn't going to be your babysitter anymore," my mom said. I couldn't breathe when she said that. I couldn't blink. "Albie, sweetie, look at me." "Did she get hurt?" I asked. "Did she move?" I couldn't believe Callista would just decide not to be my babysitter without even telling me. She taught me how to draw superheroes. She took me for donut days. She said I was smart. "Callista," my mom's eyes darted across the street. The cars were stopped at the light, and she wanted to cross. I could tell, but I wasn't moving. I'd forgotten how. "Callista lied, Albie," my mom said, turning back to me. "I don't feel safe having someone take care of you who I can't trust, so I had to let her go." "She lied?" I asked. That didn't sound like Callista. Callista wasn't a liar. Mom sighed. "Why didn't you tell me that she'd taken you to the zoo last week instead of going to school, Albie?" I didn't even find out about it until your teacher called me at work this morning to ask about a suspicious note. My stomach had a rock in it, a real rock, hard and round and heavy. Callista didn't write that note, I shouted. I saw Sage Moore staring at me as he walked by with his older sister, but I didn't care. This was worth yelling about. I wrote that note. Callista didn't lie about anything. Call her back and tell her you want her to be my babysitter again. I tugged at my mom's purse, trying to find her phone. You have to. I tugged and tugged. Albie, stop it, Mom said. She straightened up to standing. But you have to. I was crying then, and more kids were staring, laughing too, but I didn't care about them either. I couldn't believe this was all my fault. I couldn't believe my mom fired Callista, and it was all because of me, because I signed my mom's name on a stupid piece of paper. I should have signed it better. If I was better at signing, this never would have happened. Mom, you have to. I'm sorry, Albie. That was all she said. Voicemail. After my mom had to race back to work, I found Callista's phone number on the list of emergency contacts on the bulletin board in the kitchen. I knew I probably shouldn't call it. I called it. This is Callista. It was her voicemail. I can't answer the phone right now, so please leave a message. I left a message. It's Albie, I said. I was just calling because I stopped talking because actually I wasn't so sure what I wanted to say. I'd never called Callista's phone number before, and it was weird. I looked at the fruit in the bowl on the counter. I knew I should finish talking and hang up, because any minute Harriet, the cleaning lady, was going to be done vacuuming in my parents' room and come out to the kitchen and be mad at me for being on the phone, because it wasn't in her job description to watch children, and it wasn't worth the extra cash. It was my fault, about the note, I said into the phone. I'm sorry. I wanted to say something else, but I couldn't think of anything. That was all there was to say. I hung up the phone. Mad. That night at bedtime, Mom knocked on my bedroom door because it was closed. Time for bed, Albie, she said, even though I was already under the covers. Mom sat down on the edge of my bed. I was reading a new Captain Underpants book, and it didn't even have the fake Johnny Tremaine title on it, but Mom didn't say anything about that. She tucked the covers up around my armpits, even though I was way too old for tucking. She leaned over and kissed my forehead. I love you, Albie, she said. You do? I asked. I couldn't help it. Yes, she smoothed back my hair. You were caring and thoughtful and good. She blinked at me, and that was when I started to wonder if maybe she'd been crying earlier. I do the best I can, she told me. She said each word real slow. At being your mother, I don't always know how, but I try. I thought that was a weird thing to say, because I never thought before about being a mom as something you had to try at, like math or spelling. Being a mom was just something you were. I only want you to be safe, she said, still talking slow. That's all I want for you, safe and happy. I wanted to be mad at her. I wanted to be so mad. I know, I said. I wriggled my arms out from under the covers and set them on top. But maybe you don't have to worry about me so much all the time. Oh, Albie, Mom said, leaning over close for another kiss on my forehead. Of course I do. I'm your mother.